sim racing is all about precision. But do you really know where you're losing time? Your braking, throttle control, and racing line. Every detail matters. But without the right data, you're just guessing. This is where Race Data gives you the edge. Instantly analyze your lap data, see exactly where you're losing time, and make real improvements. Know your weaknesses, fix them, get faster. Stop guessing, start improving. Try Race Data today.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the streets of Detroit and the Belle circuit, which is playing host to round number 9 of the Radical Sim Racing America's Championship here in 2025. The business end of the season is upon us in both the European and America's Championship. Just 2 rounds left in the Americas before we know the 7 drivers in the World Finals and the 7 drivers in both of our classes who will have to go through the qualifiers here this year. Myself, Ian O'Leary, and Justin Prince will take you through the action tonight on RaceSpotTV with Romero Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras. Good to be with you here, everybody, and welcome along to another Radical broadcast here on RaceSpotTV. It's our 9th of the American Championship in 2025, which started all the way back in early March at the Nordschleife, a race which, looking back now, is quite telling in terms of this season. Aiden Young making a mistake in the pit lane put him a long way back in that day, but ever since then he's been improving and making up the positions, making up for lost time. In fact, he's been on the podium in each of the last 3 rounds of this championship. Let's have a look at those standings just to give you a flavour of where they all are at the moment. Aiden Young just 8 points in front of Ryan Odo. They are both definitely going to be at the World Finals. We've known that for some time. But who's going to take the regular season championship? That is still to be decided. John Butterford has been here for most rounds as well, and he's third, not too far back, and same for Roberto Diaz. Bit of a gap back to Lucas Vieira and Graham Sanders before Diego Zuccarelli, who's here today but hasn't been for a while, David Unger, Racing Fazui and Cameron Martineau, who round out the top 10. Jose Gonzalez leads by just 15 points in the AM standings, which are equally as interesting. 18 points covering the top 3. Jarrett Tunkovic is second, and John Benelid with JR Gregory and Colby Buck rounding out the top 5. It's Joe Jacklin, Cedric Garhian, Charles Krasic, Adrian Fernandez and Robert Neville rounding out the field. And in the team standings, it's close in both, although been getting less close in the last couple of weeks. Solpec taking charge of Pro ahead of Team ERC by 61, and Lima Racing now 103 ahead of Flying Line Racing. It's not settled yet, but could be tonight in both of those classes, as is the case in any penultimate race of any season. In case you weren't with us at the previous round of the championship, let's show you what happened when we went racing in the American Championship for round number 8 from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. It was a clean start, at least away from the start-finish line for the drivers who took part through turn 1 flat out in these cars as always, but it would be trouble over the hill and down towards turn 2 with a couple of drivers already getting cast off the back. Young and Odo got clear of the mess. Aiden Young able to stay in front of Odo on this occasion, and indeed did for the first 12 minutes. The battling was behind as Roberto Diaz spectacularly got past Lucas Vieira in the background. There was that first stop for Aiden Young, and he pitted rejoining just in behind Ryan Odo. They would continue to lead on the other side of the pit stop phase ahead of the rest of the field, with Vieira, Diaz and now John Butterford also battling away. Here you see Butterford on the outside line on the way towards the end of the Mario Andretti straightaway. and straight into 4th place he would go. These three would continue to exchange the places again and again and again. This was the second round of pit stops and the crucial round for Ryan Odo and Aidan Young. You can't see Young anywhere in the background. That's because Ryan Odo's stop, indeed pit stop sequence, was that little bit better than his main rivals, so he got more than 4 seconds out front of the rest. The battle for second place would then be between Diaz and Young. Obodo Diaz, having fought off Botafour and Vieira, managed to catch and pass Young with 13 minutes to go into the final few corners of the lap. There would still be drama though on the final lap. Botafour would drop back into the clutches of Vieira again. It's been in the penultimate lap, sorry. Botafour getting ahead at this point and getting into 4th position, the battle for the highest position in the field. Vieira couldn't in the end quite get past, not into the end of the straight that time round, or indeed at the end. And out front it was Ryan Odo who took the victory from Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, getting that a little bit closer to Aidan Young, who still leads the championship because Obodo Diaz got up into second place ahead of Young, helping Odo gain even more points in his championship charge. There was Young 5.5 seconds in the end behind Obodo Diaz, who got away very nicely in the final stint. And it was a comfortable race from Jared Tunkovic in the AM standings. He finished 6th overall, just over a quarter of a minute ahead of Jose Gonzalez, and he also got a bit closer in the AM championship. He's now overall just 15 points behind. There's the view from the air, 28 degrees Celsius down on the racetrack. That's 82 Fahrenheit, just after 1:15 in the afternoon here at Detroit Belle. It's time to say a good evening for the first time this evening to Justin Prince alongside me. Good to have you alongside, Justin. I mean, it's not used anymore, Detroit Belle, but it's still an iconic circuit in my mind. Shame it's not used anymore, but one of those street circuits that always has held so much character. And as I say, sadly not used anymore, but the bumps and the walls and everything in between, it's a characterful racetrack for round 9 of our championship.
Yes, indeed, and good evening, everyone, once again for tonight. These drivers have been put through a workout, is what was the main discussion point, looking through some of the discussions by drivers throughout the weekend, but also talking with drivers like Aidan Young very quickly through the Discord side of things to see what their thoughts on. And many drivers made it clear these bumps will make this car very loose. It's going to be a challenge to be able to hold on to the race car with how much texture this facility has when it comes to the pavement. This was old pavement at the time of the scan, and now that's going to result in a lot of these drivers trying to battle with the circuit to make sure they don't lock up and slide out, or ride the bumps and slide around in the corner and spin out because of how much this car is going to take a slam to the corners.
Built and indeed first operated on in 1998, this venue, right in the middle of Detroit, on an island, as the name suggests, in the middle of the city of Detroit, very close to the Canadian border. One of the few places in the world where Canada, or one of the few places in America anyway, where Canada is to the south of you, of course, in the geographical world. At least part of it is. So it's a very unique place in the world. And in Detroit indeed as well, but no longer used. Of course, the circuit across town now used for the racing that happens in this city these days. Ryan Odo making his way up towards the line here with just 2 minutes to go. See whether he can get past Diaz with this lap time. No, this is just setting up for another lap time here from 3rd position. And with it being, and indeed it looks like he's slowing down, not going to be able to continue that one on. Lucas Vieira now comes up towards the line. We'll see where he can get to here. Can he at least get past Gonzalez, who is in 4th position at the moment? Over the line, he certainly can. Is that going to be enough for pole, Vieira? It is not. The time just adjusting at the end there. He moves up to 4th place at least, but at least he's ahead of all the AM drivers.
Yeah, track position going to be pretty critical because it is a pretty challenging racetrack to be able to make passes at because of how tight the circuit is. You have a few drafting opportunities that can pop up, yes, but for the most part, it's about trying to pressurize mistakes and strategizing for those multiple pit stops today. You might see opportunities up through Central Avenue, up to Turn 3, or up Strand Drive alongside the Detroit River, but it's going to be a challenge for these drivers here today to make sure they just make no mistakes and don't have any troubles. A lot of drivers in practice noticed that at Turn 8, for example, slammed into the barrier and had issues rotating their car. So that's going to be one of the biggest areas of difficulty, is that area around the fountain.
Zuccarelli over the line, and he's going to be not ahead of Gonzalez with that lap time by looks of things. He'll stay in 6th place. This is JL Gregory, RaceSpot Zone. Of course, joins me very often for the European Championship and the Radical Sim Racing series. Don't forget, by the way, lots of racing to come in the autumn time of in Radicals. Every Friday night here on RaceSpotTV, and indeed the iRacing YouTube channel as well. We're live with the Radical Esports Cup, the top split racing from the 2100 GMT broadcasted race. We'll be entering another week of that on Friday. And we've still got the final rounds of this series, the America's Championship and indeed the European Championship to come before the World Finals qualifiers event, which happens on the 16th of November and the 23rd of November, which is the World Finals themselves. That will be live on RaceSpotTV as well, of course. Who's going to make it there, though? Let's find out with the starting grid here from Detroit Belle. It's Aiden Young who will be on the front row, ahead of Alberto Diaz, who jumped up late there, with ahead of Ryan Odo, in fact, the other championship contender. Lucas Vieira jumped up late as well to 4th, ahead of the AM pole sitter Jose Gonzalez, and Diego Zuccarelli, who is 6th. Those two just over a second off of poles. James Franzik just over a second and a half back, with John Benlin alongside. Cedric Ohion and Joe Jacqueline round at the top 10. Jack Dunkovic and JL Gregory are on row 6 as the final drivers to have set times. Alfredo Terrazas will start this race, but he will do so from the back. I think the keys here tonight, Justin, are going to be survival, first of all, obviously, but the interest really about how difficult or indeed easy it's going to be to overtake here tonight at this circuit.
It's going to be a challenge, as I alluded to, was keeping an eye on what happened on the Friday race, was looking at some of the tape there. A lot of drivers had some difficulty being able to break their way out of the train to leapfrog for positions. I'm expecting that challenge here once again. It is much more sunnier than before.
Yeah, it certainly is. Thankfully, the temperature's not too high, but it is a little bit nicer conditions. There they are, still 28 Celsius. That's low 80s Fahrenheit land. So nothing too uncomfortable down on the racetrack. And don't expect to see tyre changes in this race, by the way. The Radicals change tyres at different time as fueling, as Aiden Young now knows. As I mentioned at the top of the show, he accidentally took tyres at the Nordschleife because he thought he could do it in the amount of fuel that he was taking in that pit stop. In the end, just ended up doubling his pit stop time and losing out on that race. But he's learnt a lot this season. He's become a very, very fast driver, as if he wasn't already. He's become even faster, and he's on the pole here from Detroit. The green flag waves here at Belle, and we are underway. Ryan Odo looks to the outside initially here of Alberto Diaz in towards turn 1. Oh, and there's trouble in the background. Contact with the wall as well. In the midfield, there's a real break in the group already as the front 6 get away without trouble, and the back half of the field get into trouble. Here comes Ryan Odo. He goes to the inside of Diaz. He doesn't want to let his rival get away too far, but he can't do it on the inside. We're 4 wide in towards turn 3 in the background, and they all get through it nicely, other than John Benlid, who has gone into trouble. He's 3rd place in the AM Championship, just 18 points behind Jose Gonzalez, and it's Gonzalez who leads the AM class. Benlid at the back after an incident through turn 1.
Top break for one of the drivers. Made some real-world appearances throughout this year, but now it's about trying to see where things separate out. Watch this from the start. The 8 machine sends it in just a little bit too deep. Couldn't get the car to plan, and it slides in the barrier. That's going to cause a little bit of damage to the suspension, possibly. Looks to be okay on the body despite the hit to the concrete. And now the rest of the field trying to march their way through. Already 8 tenths up for Young.
What a start it's been for Aiden Young. The battle between Odo and Diaz certainly helped, but Alberto Diaz has been getting very, very quick in recent weeks as well here. Wouldn't be too surprising to see him actually able to stick with Aiden Young here in this race, if at all possible, but it's going to be very, very difficult to do that as they cross the finish line for the first time. They're over a second ahead of Lucas Vieira, who's in 4th place, just in front of Jose Gonzalez, who leads to the AM class. And then you've got Zuccarelli and Oyon, who are a little bit further behind. The rest of the AM class a long, long way back as you look down that long shot there. And you can see it. Dunkovic is making up places though. He qualified 12th. He's already into 10th. And he's looking to get past Joel Jacklin as well on the way towards turn 3. And he does not yet. Still side by side in the 9 car on the inside. And he gets it done. So for all the fears about a lack of overtaking, Dunkovic has made 3 already.
Dunkovic was one of the drivers also picking up some experience in the officials this past week as well. So this is a chance to be able to try and take what he learned. A race that I believe ended with a crash, mind you, and be able to improve on that, get a good finish, be able to battle for some points here. He's a solid driver, and it's just about picking up these spots now, trying to close on up. He has a couple of AM drivers that are fighting up the road as well. 44 just shuffled behind the 39 in terms of the order as well. So a chance to get into this draft pocket, see if they can square things up and try and separate themselves based on raw speed later on in the run here.
So on board with Ryan Odo, and we'll take some time a little bit later when this race calms down a little bit to ride on board for a little bit with somebody and let you enjoy the bumps, because it's a physical racetrack. There's going to be some very tired faces at the end of this as Joel Jacklin loses a place to Alfredo Tarza Souza, who drops to moves up to 10th. Sergio Goya now overtaken by Dunkovic in the background as well. So it's all happening in the AM class at the moment, and Dunkovic has gone from 12th place overall to 8th overall and 3rd place in the AM class within 5 minutes. I guess you've got to pick them off early at this circuit, but even so, we didn't see too many people making that kind of a start on Friday, so I find it very, very difficult to move through in the way that Dunkovic has done so far.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you're able to get good laps, I think once you get to the pit stop phase and get into clean spots, that's going to help you later on in the race. Be able to gain ground once you're out of dirty air. Because one of the things that popped up... Oh, that was a bit of hit to the wall for the 15. Oh no, hitting some walls.
That was definitely a bit of contact with the wall. He broke too late. And has he got any damage here? You'd imagine the answer to that question is yes, the way that car's behaving at the moment. Let's just see. We see any obvious signs of suspension damage. There's certainly bodywork damage. That much is clear on the left-hand side. But Ryan Odo has hit the wall on the exit of the backstretch. He's going to carry on again, but he hit the wall hard there at turn 7 where there's absolutely no room for error.
Yeah, and I can't tell if he's just a slight bit to the right or not. I have to keep an eye on it, but right there, that's one of the issues that I've seen several times from people in practice where they just arrow washed up or just over pushed, where the car just stopped rotating, ended up trying to over rotate the wheel and then try and get the cut from there. And now that's really sparked things back up. Two team members try and line up together at the least. Doesn't look like Odo's being affected too much on pace here, albeit he's already lost 3 seconds to that top 2 pack.
Jared Dunkovic, by the way, is making up places like you would not believe. He's now passed James Fransnick into turn 3. He's in 7th place overall and 2nd place in the AM class. Unfortunately for him, the only driver who's ahead of him in the championship is also ahead of him in this race. But look at that, up 4 places so far, as the top 6 haven't moved. And if Odo gets in front of some of the guys in front of him here and starts to slow them up, then Dunkovic could start to catch them and maybe even pass them as well. This is absolutely remarkable, and fair play to Jared Dunkovic for making such a great start here tonight. Joel Jacklin, meantime, has found himself in a bit of trouble. John Benlid back up to 11th place at least. That's after trouble in lap 1 for Benlid. There he is, up into 11th position now. I would guess, given where he's positioned at the moment, that Joel Jacklin has also gone in at turn 7, but a number of drivers capitalising very nicely on some of these troubles, like Benlid and like Dunkovic as well. Now, Benlid getting in the mirrors of Jacklin, and that's quite an efficient way of passing, to be honest. Didn't really have to do a whole lot, just try and get in the head of the driver in front, and they will make a mistake.
Yeah, pressurized, huge mistake. Jacklin, I think, might have thought, okay, the send might be coming. Have to go a little bit deeper on the brakes. Went so deep that he missed the corner. But Aiden Neon made it clear before today's race that he loves Detroit. He loves this facility. He loves being able to race at Belle Isle. Loves embracing the bumps. He made it clear one of the things that he loved here is it's difficult, but he likes having difficult cars because that means it's a fun car. And that's why he's been very consistent, only 2/10 of fall so far albeit only 7 minutes through. He is dialed in on his marks.
Yep, he certainly is. Now a second and a half in front of Diaz. He's just slowly stretching out that margin out front as he comes towards the line again to complete another lap. He looks to try and take the fastest lap back from Alberto Diaz, actually, and had he avoided, and indeed he did avoid all the walls, he has indeed got that fastest lap of the race back again from Alberto Diaz, and that is one of the reasons why he stretches out a bit of an advantage. Also because Diaz had an off lap there with a 24.1, but both of these two comfortably the fastest in the field, pulling away further from the rest. It's hard to know whether Odo's being held back by damage, but he's certainly not as quick as the front two at the moment, and Vieira, meantime, can't get past Brian Odo, so he just continues to lose time behind him.
Yeah, and the more time you lose, the harder it's going to be here, but that's the thing. Touched upon this a little bit. Dirty air is a factor here that popped up in Canada. These drivers also pick up a fair bit of tire wear, some of the drivers reported after that race, because of some of the dirty air that you pick up. So it makes it that much more difficult to break out of the aero bubble once you get into these long runs. J.R. Gregory, though, in pit road because he just took a shunt to the barrier.
Oh dear. That's why he spent 1 minute and 27 down on pit lane. J.R. Gregory, who is now a lap down in this race, but is still going, which is a good thing. Unfortunately, Alfredo Souza has also been in, and this might be why. Oh, wow. He broke too late, and he also tried to turn out of it as well, but he couldn't quite do it. In the end, only a 16-second stop actually for him to get that all repaired, and so he is comfortably in front of J.R. Gregory, but already this circuit is bitten as Dunkovic now comes into the pit lane. Now this looks a little bit more scheduled, just 9 minutes in.
Yes, we were talking about this before today's race, but they do have the shorter fuel loads in the tank because something's happened again.
No, it wasn't scheduled at all. Look at his steering. Dear me.
Yeah, I was about to say the front clip was smashed in. On the 9, he was charging to the field. I think he clipped the barrier too here, Ewan.
Dear me. This has been quite something so far. We'll be suddenly wondering who hasn't hit the wall in this race. I thought Dunkovic was one of those who'd done really well to avoid it. There goes Jacqueline past him for 10th place. And there's a J.R. Gregory who's a lap down. Tarazas is now out of the race. Wonder whether he sit something again to do that, or whether he's pulled the plug anyway. Gregory decides to get out the way. Now he's officially a lap down on not only the leader, but actually every single person who's ahead of him in this race at the moment is now a lap in front. The laps aren't very long around here, but it's still quite something. This is on board with Lucas Vieira. This is live pictures of this battle for third position. And just in behind Ryan Odo, who puzzlingly hasn't stopped yet, hasn't decided to get rid of that damaged car and get himself up towards the front again. He is persisting on and losing time, but keeping third place.
Here's scrapes the barrier for good measure there, but at this point, I don't think it's going to last. There's the switch. Vieira got the run. Nothing to do except go right on by, unless Vieira makes his own mistake. He got the pull of the draft, got the give and take. At that point, we'll see now how far the 16 can go as the 8. Belle has gone on in as well.
Yep, so we've already seen Bentley in the wall spinning through turn 1 tonight, but he drops to the pit lane now and decides to pit in, maybe tactically. As I mentioned, every time we do one of these European or America's races, there are fixed setups here in this series. It means that fuel is limited to mean that you shouldn't be able to go any further than sort of 20 minutes into the race and the first stint. And then there's a fuel capacity limit as well, which makes them need another pit stop at some point throughout the day as well, although they can run that middle stint a lot longer if they want to, right towards the final minutes. Odo's decided enough is enough. As I said earlier, he decided to persist that long, but he's finally decided that now is the moment. And again, this is trying to incorporate a bit of damage repair with his strategy.
Yeah, had to try something different after so much of a time blade. Vieira is now 8 seconds back for reference. Zuccarelli, we haven't talked too much about tonight. Meanwhile, currently in fourth with the pro drivers in the 8 again. Dunkovic scraping off walls. He's destroyed the right front. And another hit in the fountain.
Dear oh dear. Jared Dunkovic made such a promising and good start to this race, but it's unravelling now, isn't it? This is his latest one. He got turn 7 right, which is normally the problem, but too fast into 8. And he goes head first into the wall at the left-hander. Has to wait for Gregory to reverse back out again and then get back going. Jared Dunkovic is back into the pit lane for the second time in just 15 minutes.
Yeah, quite simply, it almost looked like, again, went a bit too deep on its mark and then started wheel hopping with the bumps. By that point, the car was gone. But that's what happens around Belle Isle. These bumps will destroy you if you aren't confident around this track and able to manage the grip. Aiden Young, his gap is still pretty even. It is being maintained by Diaz, though. Diaz has stayed within 1.5 seconds back. It was 1.8 at one point.
Yes, it's lurking there. And that is good news for us in this race. We hope to have a battle for the lead every time. And at the moment, looks like we may well get that at the very front. Young has won 3 times this season. Reinaldo has also won on 3 occasions. We've also seen Rustin Fazui and Alberto Diaz take victories along the 8 races so far. It's the split of the race wins. Certainly Young, who got the upper hand over Reinaldo tonight so far in terms of not making any errors. Spoke about that being the key, the real key tonight. Well, I didn't expect it to become this much of a key this early on, but we've seen at least half the field have trouble already here tonight, and that says everything about this circuit that you need to know, really.
Yep. It's been the challenge when it comes to this track in general, just to be able to conquer it, keep yourself clean, absolutely. And it's why in real life it was also a challenge too. Near scrape for Vieira again with the walls. Just that shot alone kind of showcases how difficult it is. You're almost sliding these tires around, making sure you hold on to the track. The rear just do not want to grip up so much per se, and you're really just trying to hold on with the wiggles coming out of the corners with some of the bumps over the crest to make sure you don't correct back into the wall. And we've seen that so many times where you misjudge one of these apexes or even the braking marks by a couple feet, and this car will not cut.
There's Vieira on his own. There's Jose Gonzalez, who leads the AM class at the moment. Because the AMs are so far up the field, he's starting to gain more time, more points than he otherwise might do. 78 points available for 4th place, whereas his rivals at the moment, Benlid and Dunkovic, are 10th and 11th. 54 and 50 points available there, so that's at least a 20-point gain. And he already has more than 10. He won't seal the championship tonight, the regular season championship, but he could take a very big step forward towards it if the race were to end right now. Of course, it won't, and he still has to make 2 pit stops tonight, does Gonzalez, but nevertheless, Dunkovic is and Benelid losing points today. It's 9th round of the season, and Jose Gonzalez now comes into the pit lane. You can see him with the pit limiter on very, very early here. A very tentative pit entry with Zuccarelli gaining right up to the back of him there. It's one of those things you've got to practice, otherwise you'll get it wrong and you won't know what where the line is. Gonzalez didn't look like a driver who'd practiced that at all.
Yeah, that looked very conservative actually, because Gonzalez was well slow before the cone on the limiter. Zuccarelli waited all the way until he was up towards the edge of the pit wall where it starts to blend on in to make the run to the cone. And those types of differences can absolutely cost you on the racetrack. Look at this. Zuccarelli just on that entry, and with his ability time up how much fuel he needs for the run, gain an extra 2 seconds, and is able to jump by and gain a spot officially on the track.
And this is where these races always get so interesting with the different pit stop times. Zuccarelli will have to take those 2 seconds of fuel a little bit later, but They've both gone for fairly long stops there, which means they'll have shorter than some of those around them in the second round of pit stops coming up a little bit later. Ryan Odo right behind Vieira, who's just made his pit stop as well, and he's putting the pressure on towards turn 7, and he's going for the move here. Odo at the... Oh, he got off! Wow, he's hit the wall again, I think. Yeah, I think he's hit the wall again through turn 7. I was about to say it was oh so brave of him to go for the move at the very place where he came unstuck earlier tonight. It looks like it's caught him out a second time.
Yeah, he had thought he could make it stick, went a little bit deeper with the lunge, past the 400 marker to the 300, and by that point, you just cannot get it to turn by that marker. Just destroyed the front end of the car, and at this point, Ryan Odo, surprised it didn't come down immediately, but he's kind of forced now on this strategy. He can't go off it if he wants to be decent on fuel for the second pit stop. Now, he's looking like he's going to try and withstand the pain with significant left front damage.
Yeah, he's going to have to. He's going to have to. I mean, and hopefully he's worked out the maximum amount of time you can run on the limited fuel tank we've got in this series. Hopefully he knows that number, because it will be, before 20 minutes to go in that case to do pit. But even so, even 20 minutes to go is quite a long way away at this moment. 20 minutes away at least. So Ronaldo is going to have a long and miserable middle stint, it looks like, in this race here tonight. The leaders went on one lap further, Aiden Young and Obodo Diaz, and notice the difference in the pit stop times. 12.6 for Aiden Young and 16.2 for Obodo Diaz. About 3.5 seconds shorter, so he will gain that back again in the second stops. But I do just wonder whether it would have been a better idea for Diaz to maybe short fuel a little bit and get closer to Young, or whether he purposely took more fuel there so that he could get into clean air and hopefully beat him that way.
That's a good question in terms of that. I know Young probably is thinking lighter car, faster car, maybe a little bit, try and get some separation, but for Diaz, might be trying to wait for that later stage, go for the quicker stop as you're alluding to, try and save that extra time once they come in the final few minutes. But we still have to wait about 20-30 minutes before we find out the true answer on that approach here. Obviously, Young's going to be earlier on in that window. Everybody else here, like Vieira, it's going to be a test here. Vieira came in a lap earlier, went for 1 second more fuel compared to Aiden Young. So far, having a challenge to dig. He is setting personal best though, 124 flat last time. There is a problem with that delta. It's still 6/10 off the pace of Aiden Young's purple lap.
And there's Joel Jacklin on another replay. It's turn 7 again. And you've got a big choice there, whether you turn out and go down the escape road or try and make it. And unfortunately, by the time you've decided or realised that it's too late, you're going straight headfirst into the wall. So it's unfortunate for Jacklin. He's in the pit lane again and has been in there for over 2 minutes as well. Such a difficult circuit, this one. And I must say I'm surprised by the amount of people who've been caught out by it, but it's hardly surprising. It's really, really difficult around here at any street circuit. Hard to spot your braking point, especially at turn 7, which is not really after a straight at all. It's sort of a bending road, which again makes it even more difficult, and so many have been caught out by that so far.
Yeah, it's now to where at this point you can't be uber aggressive in turn 7. You almost need to be conservative at this rate if you want any chance to survive the corner. It's just, the thing is, a lot of drivers have not learned that so far during this run, which has been the big thing.
You just see it here for the markers. You do have a few of them, but very, very easy to miss, especially when there's other people around on the way towards 7. Well, Vieira's going to get more comfortable in third. This is Jose Gonzalez, who's still behind Diego Zuccarelli. And despite the fact that Zuccarelli's ahead because of a shorter pit stop, it's looking like Gonzalez is not as quick anyway, which is fine. He's an AM driver after all, and Zuccarelli a pro. But Gonzalez would have liked the extra position, I would imagine, so that he could put further distance between himself and Benlid and Dunkovic. He'll have to settle for 20 or so points, though, will Gonzalez. I think he will do, because that's a very, very solid gain indeed for Jose Gonzalez, heading into the final round of the championship, where you never, ever want to be relying on any sort of result. And Gonzalez is not going to be if this holds to the end.
Yes, indeed. And at this point, Zuccarelli, for reference, sends him his faster laps. It's been an entertaining race, to say the very least. And I will say this over the radio. I think Aiden Young is very happy with how things are going, I will say, based on what he just said on the radio. At this point, he's in his own perfect world, is what is kind of what's been described here. He has been a fast driver for whatever organization he's been with for years. Now part of WSR Esports. He is one of those drivers that we've seen perform and thrive in these types of races that you put in some challenge, to be able to have to fight for the positions and be able to fight a loose race car. And he's been able to handle that well tonight. This car has been nailed on in performance when it comes to his run here tonight. Aiden Young hasn't had any slip-ups, and that's why it's been so difficult to try and figure out a way to crack the code of keeping up and trying to out-strategize Young here so far.
Is what he said over the radio broadcastable, or is that going to have to stay in the...
He said, do not change anything, quite simply.
Oh.
In our words, he's happy.
Yes. If he wanted anything to change, it would be the amount of time remaining. Or maybe he doesn't even want that. He wants to enjoy himself for the next half an hour. But anyway, if things could stay as they are, then fine. I don't know if, though, he's overlooking the threat of Alberto Diaz. I don't know about you, but 3.5 seconds quicker in the stop from Diaz. He seems to be slower, sorry, which means he will be about 3.5 quicker in the next stop. He was about just over a second off of Young when they both came in before. There you see the previous stop times. He has gained a bit of time, though, Diaz, since those pit stops. It was approaching 6 seconds at one stage, now down to 5 or so. And this is the dangerous thing when you're a leader like this. It's very easy to see when you're in a nose-to-tail battle, when your person behind you is getting quicker. But when you're at a distance like this, it's more easy to not quite see that he is being caught a little bit right now by Diaz.
Yeah, last time by, Diaz did set a faster lap time. Past 5 on the average has been slightly quicker. But that's the tough thing, is going to be long term. Will that be a good play for Diaz? Is the thing. As we take a look at Frenznick, one of the privateers, just keeping it calm while passing by the riverfront. Right now is actually 5 seconds up on the next car after what was a chaotic start. Just keeping the rhythm is what you just have to do at this point, right? 126 is going to be potentially lapped at some point at this current rate. But I think is just trying to make sure to knock over the edge and crash the car. Just get the points in AM. Because right now, this is your second place in AM, mind you. Just trying to make sure they get a good points overhaul, or points haul from tonight.
The maximum Gonzalez will be gaining at the moment is maximum 20 from Benlid and Dunkovic, so we can't seal the title tonight, I don't think, with that sort of a gap. No, not as it stands anyway. So either he needs to gain some places or the others need to lose some, and at the moment neither really look like happening. Same goes in the pro standings as well, where Young would be currently gaining just over 20 points in those standings. He only comes in with 8 points of an advantage, though. And that will, well, it might, yeah, maybe it'll be close, but he's not in a position to be sure about that yet either, as Cedric Ohion currently runs in third position, 5 seconds or so behind James Frenznick, just short of the half distance here tonight. So just shows you those who stay out of trouble are those who have good results by the end of the day, because all 3 of those in the AM class who have done this race without any trouble have been able to get up towards the front and on those podium places for the moment. This is a look at the race start, by the way. It was aggressive low, wasn't it? Down the inside of Diaz, but he's been showing this aggression all day, and so far it has been a little bit misplaced at times in this first half an hour.
Yeah, he kind of needed to go for it there because it's the start of the race. It's a passing opportunity from the get-go up through 3 before it gets single file up through Sector 2 before you head up to Strand Drive. So it's one of your best chances to set yourself up long term. In that case, Odo, just in the long term, was pushed back by contact into the left front that pushed things back internally. So at that point, it's where you have to be able to figure out a way to keep latched on up to the front to have the true chance here. Vieira is doing a good job closing up that gap after he didn't have the greatest of launches in this entire sequence and lost a bit of ground even to the teammate. So it's that balance of getting a start that you can stay in your draft pack but also set yourself up for success. We've seen the success for Dunkovic earlier. For example, when you can make passes if you have the skill set to make up ground in the corners. But it's about picking those spots to make sure you aren't one of those with the front put up front ends like we're seeing with the 9.
Got to stay out of trouble. We said it at the start, and Jack Dunkovic hasn't been able to, I'm afraid. He's had various troubles here so far tonight, and he's even got a few battle scars to show for it, as you say. More than half a minute in front and half a minute behind. Joe Jacklin also out the race now, by the way, so these are some of the last running drivers in the whole field now, further down towards the back. There is Joe Gregory, who's last running in the race. In terms of the team's standings, by the way, as part of Flying Lion Racing, as that name suggests, Charles Kresic is as well, but he's not here today. So it's up to John Benlid and Cedric Ohayon to gain some points out of this, and it looks like they will do, because Gregory is at the back anyway, and that's been furthered with that incident down here at this corner, turn 7. This time at least he gets it right.
Yeah, it's not been a great day for Gregory at this point. I think he just wants to finish out, get the points, move on to the next one. He's here just to compete. We know he's a talented broadcaster. Haven't had the chance to work with him yet. Know he does pretty well on the racing side, but so far, today's been a challenge, and we can see why he felt it was a challenge among some of the communication in the community coming in the past couple weeks.
Yeah. I get the feeling this is not, excuse me, this is not his favourite round ever, but circuit
nah.
ever, but
Yeah, especially with the roller coaster he's had today. Do you blame him?
Well, no, exactly. It's easy to see why. As John Benlid comes in with half an hour still to go. I'm not sure this could be his final pit stop. I'm not sure how long the fuel tanks will take you, to be honest. I've not seen any sort of long distance radical racing to know that. 11 seconds only in the box from Benlid, and he's back out on his way again. Didn't see any damage on the way in, but he drops to 9th position. The car going past was on a different lap, indeed the lap ahead. Looks like Benlid maybe slightly has a bit of right hand down damage, and that's why he came in maybe, but he hasn't got it fixed if that's what he did go in for.
It's actually on the left front still for the contact earlier. He did get one thing fixed. One scuff mark with the iRacing repair system. So he did get a little bit of repairs done with the fuel, just not enough to make sure that front end is no longer caved in and fix the rest of the scrapes. At this point, if you've used your fast repair, because there is one in the session, mind you, you can't really take the time to get the repairs done unless you want to willing to put yourself a lap or 10 down. So it's no surprise to see him just keep the damage, just try and drive this car to the end, and then fix it with a repair bill later.
Yep, very true. Just one person with a polisher out there, clearly, while that pit stop was on, and just dealing with one of the scratch marks, but that's not going to do a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. You just have to soldier on with this car, and I've got to say, from my experience of driving damaged race cars in the past and You'll be shocked to learn that I have done that once or twice in my life. It's the most annoying feeling in the world, driving around knowing that you've got damage, just sort of waiting for a pit stop where you can get it repaired, or indeed waiting for the race to end, to be honest, because there isn't another chance for you to come in. It's one of those really, really annoying feelings that is very, very difficult to shake, really. As soon as you've done this amount of practice with, you know, one car setup and in one car and whatever, as soon as something like that fundamentally changes, it throws you completely off of balance.
Yeah, especially since in a lot of cases... Oh, hold on, we've got trouble. Diaz just hit a barrier. He was losing time in bunches, and Diaz, I think, just slammed the barrier. Yes, he did. His car looks hurt.
It does look quite badly hurt. He's now over 10, 11 seconds off the lead, and he's wide as well. He'll be waiting for these pit stops. It's rear suspension damage. I wonder whether he's flicked it in here, knowing he's gone in too fast. Oh! Now, did he flick it in knowing that he'd gone in too fast, or did he just lose the rear end on turning there for turn 7? Either way, he's backed it into the wall, and he's now into pit lane.
Yeah, again, sent it deep. Knew the disaster coming in. I think hit more with the rear, just with the way he was trying to turn it so aggressively to get it to rotate. If anything, that made the damage exponentially more worse. 20 estimated laps to go. Look at how bad this is. This is going to definitely be the faster pair. There it is.
Goodness me. He couldn't have carried on with that for any longer. So he will now take the maximum amount of fuel, I think, that he can get into that tank before it's full. And now come back out again with Jose Gonzalez not far in front. But with 26.5 minutes to go, I'm still not entirely confident these guys will be able to make it to the end without yet another splash and dash and a third pit stop maybe for the likes of Belle and Diaz, who've had to stop early in the second half of the race.
Yeah, they're going to have to push right to the edge when it comes to these turbocharged engines here. It's going to be a challenge, I think, right now for Diaz. Just with the numbers, especially when the first stop came after 20 laps. It really depends, too. There's a 10-minute variance in the expectation we're expecting based on previous races where it can go up to the last-minute splash and dashes. So you offset that by a couple seconds. It could be close. Either way, this is not going to be a race-winning move with the incident whatsoever. This is the strategy he's forced upon. It's about seeing what he can do from here on out, try and make up ground, and see where things cycle over to the very end. As you see, the 21 trying to work around his teammate.
And we're going to be left to sort of speculate, aren't we, for weeks to come about what would have happened with Diaz and Young, because I do think Diaz was just catching Aiden Young slightly each lap, and obviously the consistency and the ability to stay out of trouble at this race is part of the whole race scenario as to who's going to win. But it did feel like Young was going to be given a run for his money there by Alberto Diaz, and sadly we're never going to be able to see that. It's just going to be a battle between himself and Gonzalez now for Diaz. Further behind, John Bentley has been caught by Jack Dunkovic, who you might have just caught a glimpse of down in the picture there. They're a lap down, but they're battling for ninth position, and these two are big players in the AM Championship, don't forget. Just 3 points apart to Dunkovic's advantage. Bentley needs to start gaining some of those points back, and he might well do that, although he'd have to defend from Dunkovic pretty hard here. Inside at turn 7, we've seen a lot of trouble here tonight. Round the outside from Dunkovic anyway, they give each other a lot of room, and they get away with it. Dunkovic on the inside at 8, he goes in too deep though. Here comes Bentley on the exit, and he'll have the inside for the exit couple of corners here. To the left twice, round the outside from Dunkovic. He will stay in front in 9th ahead of John Bentley, or rather get in front, I should say. Maybe that's hardly surprising with Bentley's damage, but nevertheless a good battle and a good pass.
Surprised Dunkovic made it into turn 7 in the first place with that higher groove. Thought he was going to slide out of the barrier. Just had enough to rotate and slow down, but now it's about trying to build up a buffer here for Dunkovic. Important points to get here. Every point can count potentially. And right now, you can see that difference. Even with the matching twinsies damage just in reverse, the Nines just still got the raw speed, and you also have some of the lead lappers ready to go through. By the way, Diaz did make the swap. Gonzalez let him go, no issue. Didn't even attempt to hold him up as you would expect from a teammate.
Yeah, And to be honest, even if they weren't teammates, it wouldn't be very smart of Gonzalez to try and keep him behind anyway, because Diaz is just so much quicker. But the danger that Diaz is going to have here is that now he's got a new car, he's got no damage on. You sort of over push here, trying to make up the time that you've just all lost, and you end up in the wall again. He's got to try really hard to avoid that now as he's trying to catch up to Diego Zuccarelli. This could be a more difficult pass that he may have to make for 4th position, although he's now got lap traffic. There goes out the way John Benlid, allowing Diaz through rather nicely through this tight section.
I think that was after we seen a smoke show, because Belle actually nearly cleared into turn 7 again. But should expect that for track. Looks like a pit stop. Ryan Odo, it looks like this may be the expected top of the window. 17 estimated to go. He made it 18 laps on the distance. This should take him to the end by about a lap buffer here, give or take at least. So the 15 is coming in scheduled.
He's got a bit of suspension damage and all. Wonder whether he has hit the wall somewhere. So,
well, he did hit it earlier.
Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry, I was mixing up with Aiden Young somehow. He did hit the wall earlier, as you point out.
Oh, tires.
This is an accident. He revved the engine there as if he was set to go, but I think he's forgot to uncheck the tyres as well. And when it rains, it pours, and unfortunately it has been pouring for Ryan Odo today. He's now behind Cedric Ohayon, down in 8th place.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much the tires going to help because the lost delta of time here. Aiden Young is in, so it looks like it is indeed the start of the window. Scheduled service, and this is going to make things all the more intriguing for Diaz. Young peels on down to take his service with 16 estimated laps to go.
It's such a clean race from Young so far. Quite tentative on the way into the box, but last thing he needs is any drama here. With less than 22 minutes to go. If I was him, actually, I would have gone out as long as possible, just in case got a bit of damage to come in and do the fast repair a little bit later. But either way, he knows that he's not going to mistake, or at least he believes in his mind he's not going to make a mistake from here to the finish, and he makes his second stop with 21 minutes to go and hopes to bring it home. Vieira and Diaz have made their final stops as well. Vieira, of course, on that last lap. Diaz already has, and he's now behind Zuccarelli, who carries on. Jose Gonzalez, James Franzik still yet to pit for the final time as well. It's all changed here, but Diaz is on the back of Zuccarelli, who will not pit before he gets there, so he may have to do a proper pass on the racetrack here for second.
How quickly will the pass be is the question. Last time through is about 1.2 seconds picked up alone. On the average, it's 1 second quicker a lap for Diaz. So I think the main thing for Diaz, keep him watch here. Zuccarelli moves a little bit earlier. Diaz able to go a touch bit deeper, carry that speed on entry, each of these corners in the technical sections, gain that ground without taking the bumps to carry him off the racing surface. That's what's really helping him close this gap here. Diaz has chipped it away 4 car lengths, and they have to work their way around Dunkovic here pretty quickly. So you have all sorts of dirty air to factor on in here. Depends on what happened with Zuccarelli, and it looks like it's not going to matter. Pit stop.
Indeed. Zuccarelli deciding that probably isn't worth trying to defend out there, and you can't entirely blame him for that as he comes into the pit lane here. And so that's to the left hand side and goes into the box. Will not go up on the jacks. He will, well, of course it wouldn't happen yet anyway, but you'd imagine he will has remembered to uncheck his tyres here. Where is Odo going to be in relation? 8 seconds it is still as Zuccarelli gets rolling, so he will be ahead of him in the pro standings. Just less than 5 seconds will be the gap there. Through 1 and 2 he comes, and Odo will be about less than 4 seconds behind at the time. But, oh, I was about to ask, how hard is he going to push? We've got a pretty quick answer there about how hard he's going to be pushing for this position.
Yeah, that was a little bit too hard pushing. How about drag the paint off the right side of your car? He actually crushed in the side pod just about a little bit because of that scrape. Curious if that impacts him a little bit. It looks like some of that is a little bit concaved a bit. So we'll have to make he'll have to make sure he doesn't destroy the car any more than it is at this point if he wants to recover any points in this situation. You already had a 27-second stop in the first place because of the tires. You don't want to hurt your race anymore.
Absolutely. This battle effectively having been created by that misstep in pit lane, accidentally taking tyres when there's no need to in these races, or at least it costs you more time than you eventually end up gaining with the fresher tyres, although they can't hurt at this stage. Now that he's got them on, just has hurt his track position, which is the problem. And it might mean that he's behind Jose Gonzalez as well, but we'll wait and see when those final two AMs make their pit stops as well. Still might be a stop from Diaz. I'm not sure how or if he can make it to the end. You'd imagine he can. But there's the little bit of contact. You'd think he'd tone it back a bit, but Ryan Odo's just absolutely fearless. He tried to make that overtaking towards turn 7 laps after crashing there and crashed again, and you know, just unwilling to step off it, and just continues to push as hard as he possibly can, even in the face of all this trouble tonight.
Yeah, at this point, wants to not lose too much ground here with the championship is all you can really say here. Try and figure out a way to close up that 5-second gap to 26. That's, I think, the furthest it can get up here, unless Franznik has a disaster. But for Aiden Young, follow on with 12 seconds now, the gap between him and Diaz. Diaz still running 124 flats. Young, his fall off has only been essentially 4/10 maybe, give or take, here tonight. He's just been so dialed in and so comfortable with this car up in front. It's now just about making sure he doesn't push the car too hard. He can afford to let things breathe a little bit. Take things a little bit cautious. Keep it clean. He's got a lot of delta to play with. That's why the gap's going down a little bit this lap.
And you would do at this stage with this kind of an advantage. Absolutely would do. He's already the championship leader, to remind you. He'd be gaining even further with that here at the moment. Odo, his worst result of the season is a 9th place finish. It's not quite going to be as low as that, so this is going to count towards his score. At the moment, with a 7th place finish, he'd be losing over 30 points, and the regular season championship would certainly go to Aiden Young in that situation, which is very ideal without a championship finale to deal with. Of course, 2 drop races from the 10 rounds, but your final round can be a drop round, and the teams championship does not see any drop points, so Odo's contribution to that with Lucas Vieira is going to be important, with neither Solpec driver here tonight, nor but for all Sanders. So their 61-point advantage will be wiped away, and they'll be trailing by about the same at the end of tonight. Shows you've got to be at every single race, otherwise you will be punished for it, because Vieira and Odo haven't even had startlingly good days, and they're going to score way more than the 61 points they currently trail by. Vieira himself is scoring 84 points with this result, so it's going to be a big change around in the team's championship.
Yeah, definitely going to shake things up a little bit as a result here, as Gregory's gone back in again, it looks like. But we'll say at this point, it's just about finishing out strong for your organization, right? Get the preparation down, be able to represent your team, be able to gain those points for the organization. All the generic things you can really say here. It's late in the season. A lot happens in these types of races, and it's been a big shakeup as a result of how things have gone here today, with just how some of the chaos has reigned for some of the team drivers as a whole here.
Yeah. It's been one of those days in the Radical Sim Racing America's Championship. Still waiting for 2 of the pit stops, by the way. Gonzalez and Franznik yet to stop, and this gives an idea of what the strategies could have been from some of those leaders, because normally we do see them run pretty much as far as they can possibly go in the second stint, but they just haven't been able to. Gonzalez and Franznik have had quite long stints because they had quite long pit stops in themselves, in fairness to them. But yeah, they are still going with 13.5 minutes to go. Anyway, this is J.R. Gregory doesn't look like he's sat in that car any longer. He might have finally pulled the plug here tonight on what's been a very, very difficult day.
Yeah, wasn't going to gain any more spots, I don't think, there, really, without things were going maybe on the 8 machine. Yeah, I can confirm, just parked it and towed it and said, I'm done. This is the best I'm going to get points-wise. Let's move on to the next one. Go from there. Maybe enjoy some of the scenery downtown. Maybe see how the new Hudson building is in downtown Detroit that's been added to the skyline since this scan was built up. Or go to one of the many casinos around town.
See if we can have some better luck on one of them than he has tonight.
Hey, he's got at least 5 options.
Can't be much worse. He's had a very difficult day. As JR. Hopefully he'll come have a chat with us if he is indeed retired, but maybe he doesn't want to do that either. Jose Gonzalez is now down pit lane. Maybe a degree or two of wheel damage there, or maybe it's just the angle. He now pulls into the pit lane from the lead in the AM class. Another championship leader who is leading this race, as is the case in Pro and Am here tonight from Belle. Let's just wait for this fuel stop. There you go, about 8.4 in the end. Nothing too long. And so in a moment, Franzik, or in a couple of laps, Franzik will do the same and have a slightly shorter pit stop. But you'd imagine Gonzalez is very much in control of this battle at the front. Franzik wasn't particularly close before these stops.
Yeah, right now the delta in the first place is only 13 seconds. So for Franzik, it's right at the cusp of, I think, I'm going to have time on in within about a minute or so per estimates. So at this point, still going to be a decent haul, I think, for the 39 points. Was one of the drivers in the standings, mind you, not in the championship conversation. It's actually 12th in the standings with a lot of zeros to the calendar. But a decent showing for James here today as one of the privateers here in the Americas Championship.
Absolutely. He's had a decent run out of things through the final couple of corners, and he goes on again. I don't need that much fuel per lap round here. It's not the longest lap in the world. At just 2.3 miles, 3.8 kilometers in length. These cars, by the way, as far as comparing them to others that have been around here, is just about as fast as the Daytona prototype generation was. The one before DPI, the generation before DPI, which came in 2017. The 2016 era, these guys just about as fast as that. Although different to that car in possibly every conceivable way.
Absolutely. All this is wow at this point. It's just about trying to make sure you get to the end again for Odo. Car's taking an absolute beating here. Mind you, these cars get into and be able to race in real life for the price tag of $135,000 US. So these cars take a lot to repair, obviously, but they're also very fun in real life to compete in, and have brought upon itself a national scene with Radical Motorsport as well. Odo, just using all the sim aspects and trying to learn how this car is going to feel if you damage X.
Yeah. We've certainly seen the damage system, the damage repairs being put through their paces here today. The amount of trouble we've seen. Dunkovic makes his last pit stop, and does he get in front of Belle? Looks like he just about has. Just over 2 seconds of a gap there for 9th. So still waiting to see when Franzik comes in and if Ryan Odo can get to Gonzalez, so we can properly know where the difference is going to be in terms of that AM Championship. But maybe we're seeing both of the regular season titles settled here tonight in the Radical Sim Racing Americas Championship. Just that one pit stop remaining for James Franzik before the field is cleansed. But you can see, Justin, just how the pit stop window could be a real source of excitement for us in one of these races. Not been quite close enough for us to really see it tonight, but Franzik running here with 8.5 minutes to go with still a stop to make, and you can legitimately stop with 25 minutes to go and still make it to the end. A wide window usually makes for an interesting race.
Does adds that extra bit of strategy to it, to say the very least, and we're seeing that here tonight. Frensnick at the very least just trying to see, just go with the lightest fuel load possible. Once that stop has to come into play, has lost a second since the pit stop for Gonzalez. And it looks like the run continues, still 7 to go. He's got that magic fuel saving tree in the fuel tank.
Well, is he, how far is he going to go? Let's say, is he going to one stop? Obviously, you can't. You have to make 2 pit stops. You do get 1 fast repair that most people have used, but so Frensnick will have to make a second stop in a moment. It's just a case of how long is it going to be, which is the real sticking point here. How long is this final stop going to be? He currently holds just 12 seconds over Gonzalez, so I don't think he can even drive through the pit lane and come back out in front of his main championship rival. It looks like it's going to be a second place, but he's going to be pleased with that, I think. Frensnick is maybe going to need to go through the World Finals qualifying event, but 2 good rounds here towards the end, and he could very much be in the conversation for making it straight in to the World Finals. This would gain him 60-odd points. He comes into today 72 behind Sedigoyen, although that will get further away. He won't gain all of those points now, so he will get a little bit closer here tonight. This is the kind of result he needed as he now comes into the pit lane. 6.5 minutes to go, and our final pit stop of the day is upon us.
Wouldn't be surprised if it's somewhere around maybe 5-6 seconds even on a pit stop, something short. Just with how long he was able to stretch it. Doesn't need a lot of gas, and as you would expect, Gonzalez drives by with ease. No issues. It's Frensnick. Sits in the pit stop. It is 6.5 seconds in the stall, by the way. As Gonzalez now is in the AM lead, 6 minutes to go. Just needs to drive it on home from here to win an AM and get a top 5 overall.
So, yeah, Odo up to 6th, Frensnick down to 7th with that pit stop phase. Odo got behind him by changing tyres and then back in front of him again by the end of the phase, the pit stop phase. So, Odo will be 6th position. That will lose him about 30 points to Aidan Young, and I think that would be that as far as the championship is concerned. If things were to stay as it is, Aidan Young would win the title. And the regular season title with still around to go after this disappointing performance from Ryan Odo, who will be cursing the existence of turn 7 at this racetrack as a result of this race here tonight. Gonzalez came in with 15 points over Jarrett Dunkovic in the standings. He's at the moment going to finish in 5th place and going to gain therefore 16 points, 16, effectively doubling his lead, but would not be enough to seal in the title just yet, although it would be forcing Dunkovic to need a top 2 finish overall in the last race of the season, which could be very, very difficult to achieve. Just into the final couple of corners at the moment for Aidan Young. It's either going to be 3 or 4 laps remaining here from Detroit Belle, and it's going to be a cruise to the finish. One of the only drivers in this whole field tonight to have not made a single mistake throughout, and he's going to get 4 laps to go here this time by.
Perfect drive, perfect execution. That's all you can say. He has been very comfortable with the racetrack from the onset. He was one of the drivers that felt like he was in a pretty good spot when it came to practice. He's able to handle the bumps. And at this point, he's proven why he has one of the highest iRatings in the field, but also is one of the top talents when it comes to iRacing in general. His ability to handle tracks like this is bar none, and that's why he's a big asset to WSR Esports here.
He certainly is. He's Been around for some time now. We've seen him on RaceSpotTV many times, driving lots of different things actually. And it's the Radical he's really taken to in 2025, and just wonder how he can go against some of the European specialists as well. I know that when we've been chatting to the European guys about the World Finals, even though a European driver has won the World Finals in every year that it's been contested in Radical Sim Racing, they are always fearful, especially this year, I seem to think, of the top guys in the Americas Championship, namely Aiden Young and Ryan Odo, who haven't been on the scene for every one of those years by any means. And I know that Christoph Lipp, who is currently leading the European Championship, has mentioned it to me at least a couple of times, that he is concerned about Aiden Young's speed and Ryan Odo's speed as well. You get the feeling that if either of these two string it together on the night of the World Finals, that either of them could win it. But we've seen time and again, especially for Odo, that he can have an off night as well. This is the third time he's had what you could call an off night by finishing outside the top 5, and you've just got to hope that it's not one of those nights when it's World Finals Day.
Absolutely, and obviously, but at that point, in that circumstance, you are competing with the best of the best. Once you get to the World Finals for 2025 and a chance to prove you're one of the best, you cannot be having bad momentum coming into that point, Ewan. So it's about trying to get back into a rhythm before we get to that point after a race like this for some. We're down to the final 2 minutes, couple laps to go.
Exactly 2 to go for Gonzalez. Maybe 3 for him, but for Young it's 2 to go. Gonzalez is a minute off of the lead at the moment of Aiden Young. That is how fast he has been. Just completely consistent the whole way around. And the gaps have extended as a result towards the finish of this race. There it is between the two. Exactly 1 minute now for Aiden Young over Gonzalez. He's in 5th place overall. Shows you the demolition that Aiden Young has taken upon this field. He started the penultimate lap now already. He's into the last minute and a half, and he is just cruising. As you sort of heard from him in game not so long ago, seems to be absolutely loving this circuit. And some people do just take to different circuits very, very well. And this one being a street circuit adds to the challenge that he seemingly is really enjoying.
Absolutely. At this point, Aiden Young just about cruised his way to victory here. He's pulled away 3 seconds in the late stages of this run yet again. He is absolutely flying, setting some of the fastest lap times of his race right at the tail end of this run and at the tail end of the fuel tank. Coming up to the white flag, 30 seconds left to the board.
Now the final corner for the penultimate time for Aiden Young, as he sees the white flag in front of him. And without any incident or accident, he's going to be the champion as well, with still a round to go. As I mentioned earlier, it's Ryan Odo's 3rd outside top 5 finish here this season. And when you're up against a driver who is as strong as Aiden Young, you cannot afford those, even despite his 3 victories this season. Ryan Odo, he was leading the championship after the Nordschleife, the opening round of the season. Consistency is king in a season, and that's what Aiden Young has been able to achieve. His worst result of 5th position is towers above the rest of them here today.
It's been a perfect run for Aiden Young. 42 laps led. By the way, we run lap 43. Quite literally has led the way here tonight.
Sometimes we use led every lap as a figure of speech, but it isn't actually this time round. It is absolutely the truth. You're unlikely to see a more commanding and complete performance from any driver in the world. Certainly not in this category. Certainly not in this series. In the Radical Sim Racing Americas Championship, Aiden Young has stood tall above the rest. 4 victories now on the season in just the first 9 races, and a championship to go with it as well. Aiden Young wins on the streets of Detroit and wins the title with a race still to go, as Ryan Odo limps through in 6th position further down. Aiden Young is your Radical Sim Racing America's champion for season 2025.
What a drive. What a day. And he is happy, to say the very least. You can see with the celebration. Pure car control. It's time to burn it out.
First time he's lost control all day. Although that is some controlled as well. Not sure how much he knows of the math situation or whether he's just celebrating a victory, but he's very pleased. Further behind, by the way, Jose Gonzalez is going to come through and take a victory here as well. Dunkovic and Belle have already crossed the line in 9th and 10th position, and so Gonzalez can't seal the title tonight. He gains less than 20 points, although he had 15 over the others going into today, and he will well, the other two rather will be now relying on a big finish, their best finishes of the season by some way, to win the title here in the final round. Jose Gonzalez wins the AM class on the streets of Detroit at Belle, and that's a top 5 overall for our AM leader from start to finish. Let's have a look at the race results at the end of 43 laps. It's Aiden Young who leads and wins comfortably with championship to go along with it. Alberto Diaz and Lucas Vieira round off the podium, with Zuccarelli a long way back in 4th. Jose Gonzalez wins the AM class with Ronaldo, the last driver, on the lead lap. James Franznik, Cedric Oyon, Jack Dunkovic and John Benlid round out the top 10, with non-finishes from J.R. Gregory, Joel Jacklin and Alfredo Terzes Souza in 13th position. We'll just give the guys one moment to get into the interview room. I know Aiden Young will want to join us for a quick chat after this one, but it was the race of attrition we were expecting, Justin. I'm not sure we were expecting quite such dominance, though, from Aiden Young out front. Yes, helped by his biggest rival hitting the wall twice at the same corner, but nevertheless, he absolutely commanded that race.
Absolutely did, to say the very least. It was domination station. Will say turn 7 was everybody's huge challenge point here today. The best of the best drivers had to get those marks down right if they wanted to hit the corner and not hit the wall. And we've seen a lot of competitors misjudge how much they need to carry speed in, miss it with the bumps, and carry off into that wall. And in the end, guess what? If you survived, you got a good finishing position.
And Aiden Young did exactly that here tonight at the front of the field. Aiden, welcome in. Good to have you with us. And congratulations on the win tonight. And we believe, mathematically, the championship around early as well. But tell us a little bit about tonight, first of all. It sounded like you were enjoying yourself out there.
Yeah, that was a pretty good race. I mean, I definitely enjoyed it. I love Detroit. Always have. It's one of my favorite street circuits besides Monaco, which unfortunately we don't have Monaco in iRacing. It would be cool if we did, but even if it was Long Beach, heck, still would have been just as fun. But yeah, I absolutely love this track. I mean, I knew it was going to be a bit of a chaotic one because of all the walls and the bumps, and the car doesn't really handle the best here. It's like every corner you feel like you're on the knife's edge. You feel like you're about to bend it off into the wall.
It's the beauty of Detroit Belle in so many ways, but tell us how you feel reflecting on this season now. We're still around to go. We've still got the World Finals ahead, of course, which you'll be qualified for easily, and of course you'll be the regular season champion, we believe, with still a round to go as well, based on the maths. So just reflect a little bit on these 9 rounds, how you found the 2025 season with still a bit to go.
Yeah, no, I felt like I've had a decent season. I mean, when we started out, I didn't really expect to do nothing great. It was just my goal of, okay, go in, learn, and try and qualify for the World Finals and just have a bit of fun with the series itself. But once I started competing for the race wins and I had the pace to do so, I was like, all right, well, might as well go for the title now. And kept putting in the work each race, trying to show up a little bit stronger than last, and here we are.
And I bet if you'd have told yourself when you were up on the jacks by accident at the Nordside, taking tyres when you shouldn't have, that you'd have won the championship, you wouldn't have expected it then. How much of a sort of learning curve has it been? Not only that, which is sort of a silly thing, really, but the whole car and the whole series in itself.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a learning curve. I mean, I hadn't driven this car anywhere before starting this series, so I mean, it was definitely fun to learn it. It was a little bit tricky at times, but I mean, I've definitely enjoyed it. Maybe I'll come back for next season. Maybe I won't. We'll see. We'll see what the plans are after the World Finals. Which right now, even on that, I'm a little bit iffy on if I'm gonna make that or not, because I'm gonna be out of town, I think. So we'll see what happens there.
Well, hopefully we will see you there, and indeed at another round soon. But for now, Aidan, thanks for chatting to us again, and congrats on the win tonight.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. That's Aidan Young, the winner tonight from Belle. Second place went to Eduardo Diaz, who can now join us as well. Eduardo, welcome in. Good to have you with us. Second place tonight. How are you feeling at the end of that race?
Hey, it's good to be back actually on the podium, but yeah, it's quite a disappointing result after seeing like me being close to Aidan and maybe challenging for a race win with something like strategy or something else, but I had like a big mistake. I think it's turn 7. I locked up and hit the wall, so I had to come in for my faster pair. Like fortunately, I had enough of a gap to stay ahead and keep P2, which is quite a forgiving result comparing my mistake. But yeah, it's good to be back on the podium, like back to back, especially after the mid-season I had quite complicated.
Tell us a bit about how your strategy was shaping up, at least in your mind, versus Aidan Young before that mistake, because we thought actually it was going to be pretty close between the two of you. Was that the feeling you got as well?
Yeah, I think Aidan fueled a little less than me, and I got a little more fuel in my car. I had like a 3.5 second offset to him, so like if I stayed in that range, it would have been very close. But yeah, unfortunately, I had that mistake and it ruined it. But yeah, that was my plan, my original one.
Well, wasn't to be in the end, but still second place, a good result tonight. So congrats on that, Eduardo, and thanks for chatting to us at the end as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much. That's Eduardo Diaz, who finishes second tonight. Go on to Ryan Odo next, I think, because he finished in 6th place overall, 5th in the pro class. Ryan, welcome in. Good to have you with us, and thanks for chatting to us, by the way, despite finishing down in 6th place. How frustrated or not are you at the end of this one to make a couple of errors down at the same corner, and suddenly you end up losing so much time because of how punishing this circuit is?
Yeah, I'm just really disappointed in myself. I had two different crashes that were completely my fault, and there aren't 2 faster pairs, so I was after my second crash, I was doing 26s instead of 24, so I was losing about 2 seconds per lap, and that just took me out of the fight, so I'm just really disappointed at myself.
How does it sort of stack up with in the context of this season now? Because we believe that Young is too far away mathematically in the championship, but you've probably secured second place. I'm pretty sure you have secured second place for the regular season anyway in 2025. I know it's not over yet this season, but just reflect a little bit on how you found these 9 races.
Yeah, I mean, it went from having almost constant errors where I was keep on messing up on my pits and losing a bunch of time to then improving myself. Round 6 was when I turned everything around, and then I just fell from my upward trend after this round. I mean, practicing, I had the pace to beat Aidan going into the round. He was faster throughout the first half of the race, but in the second half, I was pretty sure that I was faster, but I didn't get to do that. So this is just kind of an oddball race, I guess you could say.
Well, absolutely. Congrats anyway on the 6th place finish tonight. Thanks for chatting to us anyway, and I'm sure we'll see you again soon at the next round.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks so much. That's Ryan Odo, who finishes 6th here tonight. And one last chat with 7th place overall, James Franznik, who now joins us as well, finishing 2nd place in the AM class. James, congratulations on a great finish in the AM class for yourself tonight, and even able to run in the lead of the class for just a little bit as you ran long on fuel there. Just tell us about how you found that race and how you managed to stay out of trouble, unlike so many others on the streets of Detroit tonight.
I've raced here before in the Peak Cup, and it tends to be a race of attrition. So, I mean, I was focused more on just, having a clean race and, trying to push hard. And yeah, I mean, I think I did well. I mean, I never even finished a full 60 minutes in practice without crashing. And like I didn't know, I was catching Ryan at the end, and I know how fast he is, and I couldn't figure out why I was catching him. And then I got confused and like missed my brake and like hit the wall. And it was like the only time I hit the wall during the whole race. And then I saw Aiden behind me, and I was like, oh, he was like 5 seconds or something at that point. And then nobody behind him, so I was like, I'm just going to let him get by me and, not have to do the last lap. But yeah, it's a tough track and a tough car to drive on that track. But man, I learned a lot for this race, so it's all good.
Yeah, I'm sure. And second place result is a great result out of all of that as well. Now, we didn't get to see you for the first 4 rounds of 2025 America's Championship, but you were 12th place coming into today in the standings. You should move up to at least 9th, maybe even higher than that with this result tonight. Just how much of a target is it to get in that top 7, make it straight through to the World Finals, or are you taking it race by race?
Yeah. No, I mean, I love driving this car, man. It's so much fun, and it's like it punishes you for, every little mistake. So I feel like, the more I learn, the better I drive. So yeah, I mean, if I can get into that next round, that'd be great.
Well, hopefully we will see you there one more round, of course, to shore that up. But for now, James, thanks for chatting to us again, and congrats on a second place in class tonight.
Great, thanks guys.
Thanks very much. That's James Franzik, who finishes second in the AM class tonight. Unfortunately not able to get the class winner Jose Gonzalez, but he takes one step closer to the championship as well, although it is not quite settled yet. You have to come back in a few weeks' time to find out who indeed does take the title there, and in who indeed will take the final race as well. It comes to you live from Mid-Ohio on the 2nd of November at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're in anywhere in the world where the clocks change, by the way, then keep an eye on your local time for that on the 2nd of November, but that will be 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Check your local timings in relation to Eastern, as I say. Otherwise, it could get you might miss it, or indeed be an hour early. So you don't want that. Join us again though at Mid-Ohio for that one. The week before that, we'll be racing the final round of the European Championship. That will come from Zandvoort at round number 10. That's in just 2 weeks' time at a slightly earlier time slot. That's 8 p.m. UK time on the week before. So make sure you join us for that, as well as the Friday night racing in the Radical Esports Cup. Always a lot of fun here on RaceSpotTV, as has this race been tonight from Detroit Belle. A complete domination of the field by Aiden Young. What else would you expect? Who else would you expect it from? It was a brilliant drive from him, and he takes this championship with 1 round still to go. Make sure you join us for that final round in a few weeks' time. But for now, I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Justin Prince with Ramiro Augustin Cisneros behind the cameras. We'll see you again in a few weeks' time from Mid-Ohio. Goodbye for now.